what is the difference between SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, or software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service? So a software as a service product is 100% managed by the vendor. And that means there is almost no configuration needed by the user in order to get started with that product. So if you're thinking something like Gmail or some other web-based email browser, or Miro, which is a tool for creating diagrams and shared diagrams on the cloud, or even Slack or Datadog, right? These tools are all SaaS products because for you to use it, you don't need to do anything special. You don't need to configure it. You just need to create an account and get started using the services. And the vendor manages all of the infrastructure. They manage all of the operating systems, like everything to make sure it works for you. All you have to do is use it. And SaaS is going to be tools that require the least amount of responsibility from a vendor, from a user, because all of that is being managed by that vendor. And then we have platform as a service, which is any application or any service that your team can use to build on top of. So if we're thinking AWS Lambdas, right? The Lambda serverless functions are a platform that you can deploy your apps on, and you don't have to manage the infrastructure. You don't have to manage the operating system. You just deploy the code, and you can trust that the code will get ran. If you think about MongoDB Atlas or other managed service providers, right? They will manage everything, and they will provide this runtime to you, and then you can use this runtime in order to build your applications, and you can configure it a little bit more to actually meet your application's needs, but there's not much you need to do from a infrastructure standpoint. So platform as a service is a little bit more hands-on than a SaaS, but it's less hands-on and requires less management than infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service is going to provide you the most control compared to these other options, but also the most responsibility, because the infrastructure as a service is going to require you to manage the operating system. It's going to require you to manage the versioning of that operating system. And a great way to think about like these different models is to understand that there's a physical layer, networking, data storage, operating system. But an operating system is another layer, right? Then you have the runtime, the data, and then the application, right? When we're thinking SaaS, everything up into the application level is being managed by that vendor. PaaS is going to be everything managed to the runtime, and then infrastructure as a service, you're getting everything managed up into the operating system, right? And so when you think about it in terms of these layers, it makes it easier to understand the differences between all of them.